When my phone rang that morning, I wasn't expecting to hear my attorney's trembling voice. "Mr. Walker," he said, "don't trust your daughter." My heart froze. "What are you talking about, David?" I asked, my fingers gripping the coffee mug tighter. "She's moving your funds as we speak. I got an alert she's accessing your offshore account." I felt the air leave my lungs. My daughter? Emily? The same girl who used to fall asleep on my chest after bedtime stories, was stealing my millions. Just last night she had looked me in the eye and said, "Dad, you're too simple to handle millions. Let me help you manage them before you lose everything." I had smiled and nodded, pretending to be the clueless old man she thought I was. But the truth was, I had been preparing for this day for months. It all started after my wife passed away. Emily changed. Suddenly she wanted control of everything. She called me naive, said I didn't understand modern finance. I gave her access to small accounts to test her honesty. Within weeks, I saw unauthorized transfers, luxury purchases under fake names. I didn't confront her. Instead, I built a trap. I had my attorney create two accounts. One was real, holding my fortune. The other, identical in appearance, contained only enough money to bait a thief. Guess which one she chose. Now, as David explained what Emily was doing, I felt no anger, just a cold sadness. "Let her finish," I told him quietly. "Don't stop the transfer." There was silence on the line. "Sir, you're letting her steal?" "Not steal," I corrected. "Learn." When I hung up, I walked to the window and watched the sun rise over my quiet neighborhood. Emily thought she was winning, thought she was finally outsmarting the old man who'd raised her. She had no idea that what I did next would destroy everything she believed she knew about power, money, and trust. That night, I got a text from her. "Everything's set. Don't worry. I moved the money safely." I replied simply, "I trust you, sweetheart." Then I smiled, because tomorrow morning she'd find out the account she emptied was nothing but smoke, and that every illegal transfer was being traced directly to her name. But that wasn't the real surprise. The real one was still coming. The next morning started quietly, almost too quietly. I brewed my coffee the same way I always did, but today the aroma didn't bring peace. It brought anticipation. I knew Emily would call soon. She always called when she thought she'd won. At exactly 8:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. "Dad," she said, in that sugar-sweet tone I hadn't heard since she was 16, "I took care of everything. Your money's safe now." Her voice carried fake warmth, but beneath it, I heard triumph. "Thank you, sweetheart," I said softly. "You've always been smarter than me." She laughed. "Well, somebody had to take care of it before you lost it all." I hung up, staring at my reflection in the window. My face looked calm, but inside, I felt the ache of betrayal twisting in my chest. A father never wants to believe his child would betray him for money, but sometimes love has to burn before truth shines through. By noon, David, my attorney, called again. "Sir, it's done. She transferred every cent from the decoy account. She thinks she has $10 million. "Good," I said. "Let the system flag it this evening." David paused. "And the press release?" "Schedule it for tomorrow," I replied. "I want her to see it on TV." That night, I received an email from Emily. It was short, almost mocking. "Dad, I know you'd never have managed this kind of money anyway. Maybe it's better I take care of it. Don't be mad. It's for your own good." For my own good. Those words cut deeper than a knife. I closed my laptop, turned off the lights, and went to bed, but sleep never came. I remembered her as a child, the way she used to beg me to push her on the swing higher and higher, laughing like she'd never stop. I raised her with everything I had: love, patience, sacrifice. And now she'd stolen everything, thinking I was too simple to notice. She had no idea how wrong she was. The next morning, the trap closed. The decoy account was flagged for fraud, triggering a full-scale audit. Every transfer she made led directly to her name.
My legal team moved faster than lightning. Within hours, her accounts were frozen, her transactions traced. I didn't do it to destroy her. I did it to save her from herself. But Emily didn't see it that way. She stormed into my house that evening, face red, eyes blazing. "You tricked me! You made me look like a criminal!" I didn't raise my voice. I simply said, "Emily, you made yourself look like one." She glared at me, shaking. "You don't understand. I did this for you." "No," I said calmly. "You did it for you. You thought I was too old, too slow, too simple. You wanted control, not responsibility." She froze, the realization dawning slowly in her eyes. "You set me up. Why?" I sighed. "Because love without truth is poison, and I wasn't going to let you poison yourself any longer." Tears filled her eyes, but pride kept her from letting them fall. She turned and left, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. I sat alone, my heart heavy, wondering if I'd just lost my daughter forever. But then, 3 days later, something unexpected happened. I was in my garden trimming roses when I saw her car pull into the driveway. She got out slowly, head down, eyes red. She walked up to me and said quietly, "Dad, I'm sorry." I looked at her for a long moment before replying. "Sorry for what, Emily?" She swallowed hard. "For thinking I was smarter than you. For stealing. For forgetting who raised me." I didn't speak. I handed her the pruning shears and said, "Help me finish this. We'll talk when the garden's done." She stared at me, confused, but took them anyway. We worked in silence for nearly an hour. When we were done, she finally said, "I don't deserve forgiveness." Maybe not. But forgiveness isn't earned. It's given. She started crying then, really crying, the kind that shakes your whole body. And as I held her, I realized the money didn't matter. What mattered was that maybe, just maybe, my daughter had found her way back home. That night, I got another call from David. "Sir, you sure you want to go through with tomorrow's release? The media story could ruin her reputation permanently." I looked at Emily sleeping on the couch, exhausted but peaceful. "No," I said quietly. "Cancel it." "You're sure?" "Yes," I whispered. "She's already learned more from this than any headline could teach her." I hung up, looked out at the night sky, and smiled faintly. The millions were still safe. But more importantly, maybe, so was my daughter. Yet deep down, a part of me knew this wasn't over. Because the world has a cruel way of testing those who've been forgiven. And soon enough, Emily would face her biggest test yet, and I would be forced to make the hardest decision of my life. A few weeks passed peacefully after that night. Emily started visiting more often, cooking dinner, helping me around the house. She even began asking about my business again, but this time her tone was different, humble, careful, as if she truly wanted to learn. For a while, I believed maybe things were finally right again. Until one evening, my attorney, David, called me again. His voice was hesitant. "Mr. Walker, there's something you need to see." He sent me a file, encrypted, password protected. When I opened it, I saw documents, loan applications, property transfers, all under Emily's name, but using my assets as collateral. My stomach dropped. "Are you sure these are real?" I asked. "I wish they weren't," he said. "It looks like she's borrowed over $500,000 in your name." I stared at the screen, feeling that old ache return. Not anger this time, just disappointment. I wanted to believe she had changed, that she had learned. But greed, it seemed, doesn't fade so easily. The next morning, I didn't confront her. Instead, I asked her to meet me at the old family cabin by the lake, a place filled with our happiest memories. When she arrived, she smiled, nervous but pretending to be cheerful. "What's this about, Dad?" she asked, sitting across from me. "I just wanted to talk," I said, pouring her a cup of tea. About trust. Her hands trembled slightly. Trust? She repeated. Yes, I said quietly. It's like this lake, calm on the surface, but once it's broken, the ripples spread far. She avoided my eyes. Dad, if this is about the past, it's not, I interrupted. It's about the present. I slid the documents across the table. Her face drained of color. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she whispered, You weren't supposed to find out. And yet here we are, I said softly. Emily, why? She looked at me with a mixture of guilt and defiance. I thought I could fix things, pay you back, make it right this time. By stealing from me again? I asked, my voice cracking slightly. No, not stealing, just borrowing without asking. That's still stealing, and you knew it. She broke down then, her words tumbling out. Dad, I'm in trouble, real trouble. I owed people money, dangerous people. I didn't know what else to do. I leaned back, staring at her. You could have come to me. Would you have helped me after everything? She asked bitterly. Yes, I said without hesitation, because I'm your father. That doesn't stop because you made mistakes. She covered her face, sobbing quietly. I let her cry, but inside my mind, I was already planning. If she was telling the truth, those people wouldn't stop. I'd have to deal with them myself. The next day, I met with David again. He looked worried. If what she said is true, you're stepping into something dangerous. I've lived long enough to know when to be afraid, and right now, fear won't help her. We began tracing the loans. They led to a man named Victor Kane, a notorious investor known for laundering money through desperate borrowers. Emily had fallen right into his web. I could have gone to the police, but I knew Victor wouldn't back off that easily. He'd ruin Emily's life before they even got to court. So I did something else. I arranged a meeting. Victor's office was in the heart of downtown. Sleek, cold, expensive. When I walked in, he smiled like a man who already knew too much. Mr. Walker, a pleasure. I assume you're here to discuss your daughter's little mistake? I'm here to fix it, I said firmly. He chuckled. You're a brave man, but bravery won't pay her debts. I placed a folder on his desk. That's where you're wrong. Inside that folder is evidence of your entire operation. Fake shell companies, illegal interest rates, stolen identities. You walk away from Emily's debt, and this never sees daylight. His smirk faded. You're bluffing. I smiled. Try me. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then he leaned back, studying me with cold eyes. You're smarter than I thought. I get that a lot, I replied, standing up. And one more thing. If you ever contact my daughter again, you'll regret it. He said nothing as I walked out, but I could feel his stare burning into my back. That night, I went home and found Emily waiting on the porch. Did you talk to them? She asked, fear in her voice. I nodded. It's done. She exhaled in relief, tears glistening in her eyes. How can you still help me after everything I did? I smiled sadly. Because one day, when I'm gone, I want you to remember that no matter how deep you fall, there's always a way back, if you choose it. She hugged me tightly, whispering, I don't deserve you. Maybe not, but you have me anyway. As the night grew darker, I thought maybe this time things would finally change. But deep inside, I felt something uneasy, like a storm waiting beyond the horizon. Because men like Victor Kane never forget. And Emily's past had a way of returning when we least expected.
The calm that followed didn't last long. A week later, strange things began happening around my house. My security cameras started glitching, my phone line went dead for hours, and one night I found tire tracks leading up to my gate,
even though no visitors had come. I didn't need proof to know who was behind it. Victor Kane wasn't the kind of man to accept humiliation quietly. I told Emily nothing. She had just started a new job, trying to rebuild her life, and I didn't want her burdened with fear. But inside, I knew this was just the beginning. 3 nights later, around midnight, my doorbell rang. The sound cut through the silence like a knife. When I opened the door, there was no one, only a small envelope lying on the porch. I picked it up carefully. Inside was a photo of Emily leaving her office that day, and a note written in red ink. "She still owes." My blood ran cold. I called David immediately. "We need protection," I said. "This isn't over." Within hours, private security was arranged, and a police report was filed. But I knew men like Victor didn't play by legal rules. He'd make his message personal. So I decided to play by his rules. I had an old contact from my corporate days, a cybersecurity expert named Mark, who owed me a favor. I sent him everything I had on Victor, the fake companies, the bank accounts, the deals he thought no one could trace. Within 2 days, Mark had hacked deep into Victor's system, uncovering evidence that could bury him for life. But we couldn't just hand it over. We needed timing, precision, and most of all, proof that he'd crossed the line with Emily. The opportunity came sooner than expected. Late one evening, as I sat on the porch watching the sunset, Emily's phone buzzed on the table. She was inside cooking. I glanced at the screen. An unknown number flashing a message. "You think Daddy can save you? He won't be around forever." I felt a surge of rage so strong it nearly blinded me. That was it. I took the message straight to David and the police chief handling our case. "We have our threat. Now we act." The plan was simple. I'd lure Victor into meeting me again, pretending to negotiate a final settlement. The meeting was wired, every word recorded. Emily wanted to come, but I refused. "No," I said. "This time, I face him alone." When I entered the same glass office downtown, Victor was waiting, smiling that same snake-like grin. "Mr. Walker, I was beginning to think you'd lost your courage." "Courage doesn't vanish that easily," I replied, sitting down. "I'm here to make you an offer." "Oh?" he asked, amused. "Another deal?" "Something like that," I said. "You erase Emily's debt, and I walk away quietly. You get to keep your little empire, and no one gets hurt." He leaned forward. "And if I don't?" I smiled. "Then I go public, with everything." He chuckled, shaking his head. "You don't scare me, old man." "I'm not here to scare you," I said, standing up. "I'm here to warn you. You came after my daughter once. Do it again, and I'll make sure the only empire you see is behind bars." I turned to leave, but before I reached the door, he said quietly, "You think you've won, but you have no idea how deep this goes." There was something in his tone, dark, almost gleeful, that made me pause. I looked back. "What do you mean?" He smirked. "Let's just say your little girl wasn't as innocent in all this as you think." My pulse quickened. "What are you talking about?" He slid a folder across the table. "You'll find her signature on those contracts long before she met me. She came to me, Mr. Walker. She was the one who started this deal." I froze. My hand trembled as I opened the folder. Inside were documents dated months before the loans, bearing Emily's real signature. I didn't want to believe it. It couldn't be true. She had told me she'd been tricked, desperate, manipulated. But if this was real, she had lied again. I left without another word, my mind spinning, my heart breaking all over again. That night I sat in my office, staring at the documents under the dim light. Emily was in the next room, humming softly as she worked on her laptop, unaware that her father's world was crumbling again. I wanted to confront her right then, demand the truth, but I couldn't. Not yet. I needed to be sure. I sent the documents to Mark for verification. His message came back hours later. They're legit. She signed them, and not under duress. I leaned back, eyes burning. My daughter hadn't just made a mistake. She had made a choice that could destroy both of us. The next morning, Emily found me sitting by the window, the folder in my lap. She looked at it, then at me, and her face went pale. "Dad," she whispered, "you found out." I said nothing, just waited. She took a step forward, trembling. "Please let me explain." I looked at her, my voice barely steady. "Then explain, Emily, because right now I don't know who you are anymore." She started crying. "I did it for us. You don't understand. Victor wasn't the beginning. There were others. I thought I could fix it before you found out." "Fix it?" I said bitterly. "By digging us deeper?" She nodded, sobbing. "I didn't know what else to do." I stood up slowly, walking to the door. "Then you'll have to figure it out now, because this time, Emily, I'm done cleaning up your mess." I left the room, closing the door behind me. But as I walked away, I knew it wasn't just her who was broken. It was me, too. Because no matter how much I tried to protect her, the truth was clear. My daughter was no longer the person I once knew. That night I couldn't sleep. The sound of the clock ticking felt like a hammer in my chest. Every second reminded me of how far Emily had fallen, how deep the lies had gone. I sat in the dark, staring at the faint light under her door. She hadn't come out since our conversation earlier. Maybe she was crying. Maybe she was planning her next move. I didn't know anymore. At dawn, I decided I needed answers, not from her, but from Victor. There had to be more behind his words. People like him never told the full story. So I went back to Mark, my tech friend, and told him to dig deeper, not just into Victor's network, but into Emily's digital trail. "You sure you want this, Mr. Walker?" he asked. "Sometimes the truth hurts more than the lie." "I need to know," I said quietly. 2 days later, he called me back. His voice was tense. "Sir, you were right. There's more. A lot more." "Tell me." He sighed. Before Victor, Emily was already connected to one of his partners, a man named Richard Hall. They worked together to open shell companies in your name. She wasn't tricked into this. She started it. My heart sank. "Richard Hall?" "Yeah," Mark continued. "And there's more. She didn't just sign those contracts. She forged your signature on at least 3 property deals." I went silent. My own daughter had become a fraud. "Does she know you found this?" I asked. "No," Mark replied. "What are you going to do?" I didn't answer, because I didn't know. That evening I waited until Emily came downstairs. She looked pale, exhausted. "Dad, I know you hate me right now, but please, you have to believe I didn't mean to hurt you." I looked at her, calm but cold. "Then tell me who Richard Hall is." Her face changed instantly. Color drained from her cheeks. "Where did you hear that name?" she asked softly. "Answer me, Emily." She hesitated. "He was a friend. He helped me get out of debt. By forging my name, by building fake companies." She started crying again, but I didn't move. "He said it was temporary. He said no one would get hurt. I didn't know he worked for Victor." "He didn't work for Victor. He was Victor's partner." She froze. "What?" "Yes," I said quietly. "You didn't get trapped by Victor. You got used by both of them." She sank to the floor, her face buried in her hands. "Oh my God, what have I done?"
For a long moment, I just stood there, looking at her. The anger inside me was mixed with something else, grief. You didn't just betray me, Emily. You betrayed yourself. She looked up at me, eyes red. Please, Dad, I can fix it. Just give me one more chance. No, I said. This time, you're going to fix it without me. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my arm. Please, if they find out I told you anything, they'll come for me. I looked her in the eye. Then maybe it's time they came for me instead. That night, I called David and Mark. We're taking them down, I said. Both of them. Over the next week, we built our case. Emails, financial records, signatures, offshore transactions, everything connected Victor and Richard to the fraud. But there was a catch. If we turned it in, Emily would also be implicated. She'd face years in prison. I sat in my office for hours, staring at the files. Justice or mercy? Which one did a father owe his child? My decision came when I found a letter on my desk the next morning. It was from Emily. The handwriting was shaky. Dad, I'm sorry for everything. I can't face prison. I can't face you. I'm leaving. Don't look for me. The letter fell from my hand as I ran outside, shouting her name. Her car was gone. The road stretched empty into the sunrise. My heart felt like it had been torn apart. For days I searched. Police alerts, private investigators, nothing. It was as if she had vanished from the face of the earth. Weeks turned into months. I aged 10 years in that time. Every night I looked at her photo and wondered, was she alive? Was she safe? Or had Victor's men finally caught her? Then one evening, nearly 6 months later, as I sat by the window reading, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. My pulse quickened. I answered. Dad? The voice was soft, trembling. Emily, I whispered. Where are you? Somewhere safe. I can't tell you where, but I wanted to say thank you for not giving up on me, even when I didn't deserve it. Emily, please come home, I begged. We can fix this. She hesitated. Not yet, but one day, I promise. And then the line went dead. I stared at the phone for a long time, the silence louder than any sound I'd ever heard. Somewhere out there, my daughter was still alive, but I knew her story with Victor and Richard wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. Because when you steal from devils, they always come to collect.
6 months had passed since that last phone call. I tried to rebuild my life, but every sunrise reminded me of the daughter I couldn't save. Her voice echoed in my mind. One day I'll come back. I clung to those words like a prayer. Then one afternoon, as I was watering the garden, a black SUV pulled up to my gate. 2 men in suits stepped out. Mr. Walker? One of them asked. Yes, I replied cautiously. FBI, we need to speak with you. Inside, they laid out photos on my kitchen table. My blood turned to ice. It was Emily, in a different city, under a fake name, working with someone I recognized instantly. Richard Hall. She's alive, one agent said, but she's in deep. We believe she's trying to expose Victor Kane's entire operation from the inside. Expose? I repeated, stunned. You mean she went undercover? The agent nodded. We think so, but it's dangerous. Victor suspects someone's leaking intel. We need your cooperation to protect her. For a long moment, I couldn't speak. My daughter, the same girl who had betrayed me, was now risking her life to destroy the very man who ruined us. What do you need from me? I finally asked. Her trust, the agent said. She won't talk to us directly, but if she reaches out to you, we need you to convince her to stay in contact. So she's in danger? Every second, he replied grimly. That night, I sat by my phone, staring at it for hours. Around midnight, It finally rang. A hidden number. "Dad," Emily whispered. "I don't have much time." "Emily, where are you?" "I can't say," she said. "They're watching everything. But listen, I found proof, real proof. Victor's been laundering billions through government contracts. Richard's in on it too." "Emily," I begged, "come home. Let the FBI handle this." "No," she said. "If I leave now, they'll vanish. I have to finish this." Her voice was steady, older somehow. She wasn't the scared, lost girl anymore. She was determined. "I'm proud of you," I said softly. "But promise me one thing. Whatever happens, stay alive." She laughed weakly. "That's the plan, Dad." Then the line went dead again. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every hour felt like waiting for an explosion I couldn't see. Then, 3 nights later, David called. "Turn on the news," he said. My hands shook as I grabbed the remote. The headline hit me like a bullet. "Massive corporate raid leads to dozens of arrests. Victor Kane and associates taken into custody." I stared at the screen, heart pounding. Victor had been arrested. But there was more. The reporter continued. "Authorities confirm an anonymous whistleblower provided crucial evidence leading to the takedown. The whistleblower's identity remains unknown." I knew immediately who it was. My daughter had done it. She had finished what she started. I felt both relief and dread, because if Victor was in custody, that meant he knew exactly who betrayed him. And men like him didn't forgive. Over the next week, I lived in constant fear. Every sound outside, every car that passed made my pulse race. Emily didn't call. No messages, no updates. The FBI refused to share details. "She's under protection," they said. But something about their tone felt wrong. One night, unable to bear it any longer, I called David. "Find my daughter," I said. "I don't care how, just find my daughter." It took him 3 days. When he finally called back, his voice was low. "I found her location. She's in witness protection. Different name, different city. She's safe, for now." "Can I see her?" I asked desperately. "Not yet," he said. "It could expose her." "Tell her I love her," I whispered. "Tell her I never stopped." Weeks passed. Life moved slowly again. My days were quiet, my nights restless. Then one morning, I received a letter with no return address. Inside was a single photograph. Emily, sitting at a cafe somewhere sunny, smiling. On the back, in her handwriting, were 3 words: "I'm still here." Tears blurred my vision as I held the photo against my chest. She was alive. She had survived. But as much as I wanted to believe the nightmare was over, something deep inside me whispered it wasn't, because in the world of power and corruption, silence never lasts forever. And sure enough, just 3 days later, I got another call from David. His tone was grave. "Mr. Walker, you need to see this." He sent me a photo. My blood froze again. It was Victor Kane standing outside a courthouse, smirking, walking free. "They released him," David said. "Insufficient evidence." For a long moment, I couldn't breathe. The monster was free again. And if Victor was free, that meant Emily was in danger, more than ever. I looked out the window at the dark horizon and whispered to myself, "This time I won't let him take her." Because I knew one thing with absolute certainty. The next battle wouldn't be in a courtroom. It would be a war for survival. The moment I saw Victor Kane walking free, something inside me snapped. The law had failed us again, and I knew what that meant. Emily's life was once more hanging by a thread. I called David immediately. "We need to move her, now." "Already trying," he said, his voice tense. "But it's complicated. Victor still has people inside law enforcement. Every move we make, they know before we do." "Then we'll go off the grid," I said firmly. "I'll find her myself." "You can't," he warned. "If you contact her directly, you'll blow her cover." But it was too late. I wasn't going to sit and wait for another phone call that never came. That night, I packed a bag, withdrew every dollar I had left, and hit the road. I didn't know exactly where Emily was, but I knew her patterns, her habits. She'd always loved coastal towns, quiet places near the water, somewhere she could disappear but still feel free. I drove for days, following faint leads David fed me, security camera stills, ATM withdrawals, patterns of movement. Each one brought me closer. Then, finally, in a small town outside Charleston, I found her. She was sitting at a pier watching the sunset, her hair tied back, wearing sunglasses and a simple blue dress. For a long time I just watched her from afar, afraid to believe it was real. Then I called her name softly. Emily. She turned. The moment our eyes met, time froze. Dad? She whispered, tears filling her eyes. I nodded, my throat tight. We hugged, and for the first time in years, it felt like we were whole again. How did you find me? You left clues, I said, smiling faintly. You always do. She laughed weakly. You shouldn't have come. It's dangerous. I'm not leaving you again. Victor's out. We need to disappear, both of us. Her smile faded instantly. He's already looking for me, she said quietly. I saw one of his men 2 days ago. I thought I was imagining it. But now... She didn't finish. Her hands trembled. I pulled her close. We'll leave tonight, I said. I know a place. A cabin in Maine, remote. No signals, no roads. We'll be safe there. We left that same night. No headlights, no credit cards, no phones. Just the open road and silence. For a while it felt peaceful, almost like redemption. But peace never lasts long when you're hunted. 3 nights later, while driving through a dense forest road, I noticed headlights in the rearview mirror. They had been following us for miles. Emily, I said calmly, hold on. I turned sharply onto an old logging trail, dirt flying, tires screaming. The other car followed. Dad, she shouted, fear in her voice. They're gaining. I gritted my teeth. Not for long. I hit the brakes suddenly, the SUV behind us skidding sideways. I reversed fast, swerving into another path and cutting the lights. We stopped behind a line of trees, breathing hard. The other car slowed down, scanning the road. Through the shadows, I saw the driver's face under the moonlight. My heart nearly stopped. It was Richard Hall. He got out, holding a gun, scanning the forest. Come out, Walker! You can't hide forever! Emily grabbed my hand. Dad, that's him, Victor's right-hand man. He won't stop. I know, I whispered. Stay down. Richard moved closer, flashlight cutting through the trees. Then, from behind him, another car approached. 2 men stepped out, armed, dressed in tactical black. But they weren't with Richard. They were FBI. Drop your weapon, one of them ordered. In seconds, chaos erupted. Gunfire shattered the night. Emily screamed. I pulled her behind the car, shielding her as bullets ripped through the trees. When the noise finally stopped, I looked up. Richard was on the ground, bleeding. The FBI agents rushed past, securing the scene. One of them recognized me. Mr. Walker! Yes, I gasped. My daughter, she's here. He nodded. We've got her. She's safe now. But the relief didn't last long. Another agent shouted from his radio. Victor's men are on the move. We've intercepted chatter. He's heading to Maine. Maine, I repeated, realization hitting me. That's where we were supposed to go. Emily's face went pale. He knows. The agent turned to me. Sir, we'll relocate her again. New identity, new life. And me? I asked. You disappear too. For good. I looked at Emily, tears in my eyes. No matter what name you take, you'll always be my daughter. She hugged me tight. And you'll always be my dad. They took her away that night under federal escort. I stood by the road watching the taillights fade into the dark. My heart felt both full and shattered. I had found her, only to lose her again. But as I turned back towards my car, I noticed something on the ground near the tree line. A silver lighter engraved with the initials V.K. Victor was there,
He was closer than anyone realized, and somewhere in the darkness, I knew he was still hunting. For her, for me, for revenge.
The night Emily was taken into protection, I stood alone under a cold gray sky, watching the last flicker of her convoy vanish down the dirt road. It should have been the end of the nightmare. But deep down, I knew Victor Kane wasn't finished. Monsters like him never fade. They wait, rebuild, and strike when you least expect it. Weeks turned into months. The FBI relocated me under a false name in a quiet town in Vermont. I lived simply. No phone, no online traces, just long walks in the woods and endless silence. Every day I wondered where Emily was, whether she was safe, whether she ever thought of me. Then, one morning, a letter arrived with no stamp, just slid under my door. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a single page. He found me. Don't look for me. Trust no one. Signed only with her childhood nickname, M. My heart froze. I grabbed my bag and a gun I'd promised never to use again. Whatever the FBI had done to protect her had failed. I couldn't just wait. I drove through the night, following the faint trail of clues she'd left, a receipt, a coded note, a pattern only a father would understand. It led me to a small coastal town in Maine, the very place we once planned to hide together. It was foggy, deserted, the kind of town where everyone knows everyone, and strangers draw attention. I found an old motel near the harbor and checked in under a fake name. The clerk barely looked up. "You here for the storm?" he muttered. "Storm?" I asked. He pointed toward the sea. "Big one's coming tonight. You might want to stay inside." I nodded, but I had no intention of staying inside. I went to the docks, scanning faces, searching for any sign of her. Hours passed. The rain began to fall. Then, just as I was about to give up, I saw her, standing by the end of the pier, wearing a dark coat, hair soaked from the rain. "Emily!" I shouted. She turned, startled, eyes wide. "Dad, what are you doing here?" "You sent me that letter. You said he found me." She shook her head quickly. "I didn't send any letter. That's how he drew you out." Before I could respond, a shadow moved behind her. Victor Kane stepped out from the fog, older, colder, with a gun in his hand. "Touching reunion. You've cost me everything, Walker, both of you." I stepped forward, my pulse thundering. "Let her go, Victor. This is between you and me." He smiled, cruel and slow. "You don't understand, do you? She ruined me. The whistleblower was her. She's the reason my empire's gone. I don't just want revenge. I want her to watch you die first." Lightning cracked overhead, wind whipping the waves. Emily stood trembling, but her eyes were fierce. "You'll never win. You're finished." Victor laughed. "You think the FBI can protect you? Half of them were on my payroll." He raised his gun. Without thinking, I lunged forward, tackling Emily to the ground as the shot rang out. The bullet tore past, shattering a crate behind us. I rolled, grabbed a piece of broken pipe, and swung, hitting Victor's hand. The gun flew into the water. He snarled and charged at me. We crashed into the railing, the storm howling around us. He was stronger, fueled by rage. He slammed me against the post, hands closing around my throat. "Say goodbye," he hissed. Through the blur, I saw Emily behind him, her eyes wild, desperate. She picked up a fallen flare gun from the deck, aimed and fired. The flare exploded against Victor's chest, bursting in a shower of light and flame. He screamed, stumbling back, slipping on the wet boards. Then, with a final flash of lightning, he fell into the dark sea below. We watched, breathless, as the waves swallowed him whole. For a long moment, there was only the sound of the storm and our ragged breathing. Then Emily collapsed into my arms, sobbing. "It's over. It's really over. I held her tight, feeling her heartbeat against mine. I saved me. You saved both of us. By morning, the storm had passed. The coast was quiet, washed clean by the rain. The police arrived, drawn by reports of gunfire, but there was no sign of Victor's body, only his lighter, the same silver one I'd found months ago, washed ashore beside a broken piece of wood. They searched for days, but found nothing. Some said he drowned, others whispered he escaped. I didn't care anymore. I had my daughter back. We gave new statements to the FBI, who promised full protection and relocation. This time, Emily and I would disappear together. A year later, we lived in a small mountain town under new names. She worked as a teacher. I repaired boats by the lake. Some nights we'd sit on the porch watching the stars, saying nothing. The scars were still there, emotional, invisible, but so was peace. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, Emily handed me a small box. Inside was a silver lighter, the same one, cleaned and polished. "Found it by the lake," she said quietly. "Maybe it's a sign." I smiled faintly. "Maybe it's a warning." She leaned her head on my shoulder, and she whispered, "Either way, we'll face it together." And for the first time in years, I believed her. The storm had come and gone, and somehow, against all odds, we had survived. Whatever came next, we would not run. Not from the past, not from the truth. Because family, no matter how broken, was the one thing Victor Kane could never destroy. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying away the last echoes of fear. The nightmare was finally over, or perhaps just asleep. But for now, in that quiet corner of the world, father and daughter were finally home.